Forensics is something very critical. If you don't correct appropriately exhibit or sample from crime scene, nothing will be happen appropriately. It is amazing to have DNA database. Because of the DNA database, every single detail is known. If there is any crime, is any fraud, you can immediately detect. Because of some people, when they visit our laboratory, external people, they are scared to look at how government Rwanda thought on this strategic investment. Do you think all people are from Rwanda, or they have some people like American guy, they are behind the curtain?
Hello, everyone. My guest this week on the Long-Form podcast is retired Lieutenant Colonel Charles Karangwa. Afande Karangwa is the Director General of the Rwanda Forensics Institute. He joins us this week to discuss the work that the Forensics Institution does, as well as its contribution to a crime-free Rwanda. Before this episode starts, I want to make a deal with you. About 85% of you who watch this podcast frequently haven't yet hit the subscribe button. If you enjoy what we do here, here's the deal I want to make with you. If you hit that subscribe button, I promise you that we will keep making the show better and better in every single way. I hope you choose to come along with us on this journey. Now let's get into the show. Afande Karangwa, welcome to the Long Form.
Thank you.
So, before we start the conversation, I always like to share my appreciation for people like you, guests like you, who've taken time out of their very busy days to come and have an hour-long conversation with me. I know it's something that I don't take for granted, and I'm very, very thankful.
Thank you, and I'm very happy to be here with you.
So, Afande Karangwa, before we get into the details of the topic of today, I think it's very helpful that we understand some basic terms. So I'll ask you, for example, what are forensics? Number 2, why was it so important for the government of Rwanda to create a forensics institution 7 years ago when it already had RIB and the National Police?
Thank you so much for the question. I would like to start by provide some explanation of forensics so that we can have a common understanding. First of all, forensics, it's in a plural. But there is adjective in the singular, forensic. That you can say forensic lab. It's in singular. When you talk about forensic, it comes from a Latin word, meaning that forensis. Forensis meaning, in former time, in open court.
In open court.
Or public. This is the Latin word, the meaning of that. And when we talk about forensics with an S in a plural, meaning that it's a compilation of all techniques used to investigate a crime. Meaning that analysis done to investigate a crime, investigation of evidence, so that you can provide something tangible that can help in a court of law. So forensic have many applications, of course, so that you can understand. Actually, forensics as in plural, this compilation of many techniques or analysis we are doing so that you can have an evidence being used in a court of law. It's something that has been for many years used to provide fair justice administration. Today, the government of Rwanda, in the last 7 years, achieved a milestone to set up an institute, a forensic institute. Normally, a forensic institute is the last stage of development of forensic organization, of forensic infrastructure, forensic services. We started even before 7 years. We have a preliminary services of forensic exist under Rwanda National Police from 2005. At that time, it was a very preliminary. But in the last 7 years, the government of Rwanda put more efforts so that we boost, we revamp the services. Because all of them before, we rely on external expertise, especially in Germany, UK, and Egypt. At that period, we used to send few cases. We analyze among the critical cases. We can select few because it's very costly. When you send a sample, especially we call a sample exhibit, which is biological, is considered as a hazardous sample, hazardous export, so that can harm life of people in the airplane or in the transport means you are using. So that transport is very costly, and then we have to pay for analysis and pay for the transportation as well. Second,
before you continue, Afande, when you talk about material, forensic material, what physical forensic material? Are you talking about blood and
exactly, exactly, blood, urine, hair, and vacuum swab, vaginal swab? Those are biological samples.
And that's what you had to send?
Yes, we have to pack them appropriately, because with the from organization, the primary organization I mentioned, Rwanda signed an agreement with the legal medicine of Germany in Hamburg, so that to train people to collect sample from crime scene appropriately, so that we preserve integrity and of the sample, and package them and send them outside. It takes time. The feedback, we are expecting to have the feedback between 3 and 6 months. It depends on the nature of the sample we send.
So, so I can understand properly. So, for example, if you took a swab of, say, a victim of rape,
yeah,
and you wanted to prove you had that physical material, and you needed to send it to Germany.
Yes.
Are you saying it would take almost half a year before you got the result?
No, it's 3 and 6 months.
Between 3 and 6 months.
Yes,
it's still a lot of time.
It depends on the volume of the work they have. It depends on the nature of a sample, like gastric content, for instance. It can take more time because you have to look at unknown chemicals in this matrix. It takes time. And not only that, we have to mobilize a lot of money.
How much did it take to?
It's around 1,000 euros.
A sample?
Yes, of course, because the packaging is very complicated and it can take much money. So.
And who was paying for that?
The government of Rwanda, of course.
Oh, not the.
No.
Oh, goodness.
Because of the government of Rwanda. Actually, there is something you should understand. These services happened when we are coming a wake of genocide, and you have many cases of genocide. People are involved. Yes, emergency now it's done. We have home, we have something to eat, but the population is claiming justice. So we need to have forensic evidence.
You need to be able to prove crimes.
Yes, to prove that what we have to base on scientific evidence. This is what happened after when the government of Rwanda received us. Started using that services. Yeah.
$1,000, 1,000 euros per sample. How many samples would you send on an average month?
Per year, it was around 1,000.
1,000 samples.
Yes, because I mentioned that we have to look at among the critical cases, you have to, we cannot have all samples that you are doing now, we cannot proceed for analysis.
So that's a million euros per year?
I mean, oh no, this is a sample.
Yes.
Yes, €1 million per year.
That's a lot of money.
A lot of money. What now we are charging people today?
What are you charging for?
276,000.
276,000?
Yes.
So the government has saved about 750 euros per sample.
Per sample.
Because we have our forensics institute.
I mentioned the sample of DNA. It's a DNA sample.
So that one is a DNA sample.
3 people, mother, father, and child. Child. So 3 people. It's a one sample.
So because you've been here for now 7 years. So what was the police doing at that level 7 years ago?
Yeah, actually, Rwanda is a country that is modernizing its infrastructure and the system. In 27-28, Rwanda separate powers. Can you imagine to have a responsibility to conduct investigation, and you have the power and the right to look at evidence? So we need to separate them. So that's why at that period, we have Rwanda Investigation Bureau have created, it was the Department of Criminal Investigation under police, and we have Rwanda Kigali Forensic Lab. At that time was under criminal investigation, CID. At that period, the government of Rwanda decided to separate the 3 entities so that we can increase the trust among our clients. This is the best idea behind that change. Yeah.
So it's almost like saying, instead of one institution being the prosecutor, the investigator,
exactly,
it made things more transparent.
Yeah.
If you have specialized institutions, so that each of them, no one is controlling everything.
And then working independently, so that we cannot bias the result, the findings. It's a very important, it's a milestone achieved by government of Rwanda, separating the 3 institutions from Rwanda National Police. And we increase the trust, transparency. And now today, we are looking how many countries are coming to seek our services.
Which are those countries now?
We have today, we have many countries, neighboring countries. Also, we have...
When you talk about neighboring countries, you're talking about...
We have people from DRC, we have people from Uganda, Burundi, we have people from Tanzania.
They're coming to do what?
To seek our services in forensic.
Mainly for what?
Mainly we have DNA for patent testing.
Paternity testing.
Yes, and we have a question document, forgery document to prove them that you have the document which are genuine. And third one is firearm. We have a ballistic laboratory, for instance, and we don't have, for most of 7 years, we received only 5 cases from here in Rwanda.
Of ballistics?
Fortunately. Most of them, they come from outside. Yeah, sure.
So when someone thinks of forensics, of course, they are thinking about crime prevention, and crime fighting. In Rwanda, obviously, there are tens of thousands of incidents of crime, whether it is theft, petty theft, people stealing goats, fraud, and even rape and even murder.
Yeah, sure.
So which crimes does the Rwanda Forensics Institute get involved in? Because I don't think you can get involved in every single crime. It would be too much. So which crimes do you get involved in, and how do you choose which ones you get involved in and which ones you say, you know what, we're not going to spend a lot of effort in this instance?
First of all, I would like to clarify. Rwanda Investigation Bureau, they have a directorate general called crime investigation. And the personnel of that directorate, they are equipped with knowledge to handle some basic case of investigation, kind of forensic investigation. But we are called for some cases which are at the advanced, meaning that there is some cases they can handle themselves, and that's why regularly we are organizing training program to them, but also for other stakeholders, not only for RIB.
When you mean for them, who are them?
I mean the Director General of Criminal Investigation under RIB.
Oh, so it's in RIB?
Yes.
Oh, these are RIB
for
officers.
They have to be trained how to manage a sample from crime scene to collect, because of forensics is something very critical. If you don't correct appropriately exhibit or sample from crime scene, nothing will be happening appropriately. So we need to make sure that we preserve the quality of sample from crime scene, and the sample arrive or exhibit arrive at forensic laboratories when it's still like it was from the crime scene. So we need to preserve it from the crime scene. That's why regularly they are attending training program so that we can enhance the knowledge they have to handle or to manage exhibit of samples.
Yes.
So we are, sometimes we are called, if they come for some case which is very complicated, we are called to go on the field, but normally don't go to the field. They have capacity to manage the sample themselves.
When you talk about a complicated case, what do you mean?
Like exhumation.
Exhumation. So
Yeah.
that is doing what?
Yeah.
For people who don't know these terms.
Exhumation, we have some cases involving people, or there is killings, and people try to hide in deep well or in toilet. So we are called to go there and exhume the dead bodies so that we can collect a sample. Either it can be for teeth, bone, or other hairs, or other type of exhibit you can collect from. It depends on the time that the dead body spent. Yeah.
So depending, say, for example, I've seen many cases, even a while ago, there were bodies that were found in a ditch, in a pit in Kaboga.
Yes.
And they believe that it was for victims of the 1994 genocide against the Tutsis.
Yes, sure.
So was the institute involved in that?
Yes, of course. Exhumation were equipped with the material because of it's dangerous if you don't have scientific knowledge which are advanced. We need to make sure that you protect yourself so that you cannot be contaminated by those exhibits, but also the techniques so that you can collect appropriate sample that will be used to provide evidence, forensic evidence.
So let's now go into the details of that such a case. So there's been identified a mass grave. Now you are called to come do your job and to find out, okay, what happened, who are the victims, what was the crime, how did the crime occur? Can you take us through what that process would look like?
Yeah, but maybe I cannot go in details into process, but the first order of business is to protect ourselves. Forensic expert have to protect himself. You have to wear coverall so that you don't have any contact with exhibit or dead bodies, remaining dead bodies. This is one, the first order. But the first things, police or RIB, they have to protect the area so that to avoid people
contaminating the site.
Yes, this is the one. Second, we call an expert to come to collect the sample. When the sample, we have specialized materials for those kind of exhibit or samples. So we bring them, and after that we have to treat them appropriately. There is a two type of treatment you can do. One is a treatment done on site, and the second one is a treatment we do in the laboratory, meaning that we have a specialized room for bones with the different lights, laser, UV, and so on, so on. So this is a specialized room that can accommodate the second level treatment. Yeah.
And are you also collecting DNA and?
Yes, from the bone. We have to treat them in the laboratory. We collect DNA in the laboratory because on site there is a lot of impurity. We have to clean first and treat.
And if I may, and this is I think it's an important question for Rwandans, because one of the things that happened during the genocide was victims would be put in these holes, and then their families would not be told where their loved ones were buried.
Yeah.
Are you able, through your techniques, to not only collect DNA samples, but even maybe inform their family members that we found your cousin, uncle, father?
Most of the time we are making a comparison, meaning that we need to have a relative, family members of the victim to be the reference. That way we have, in most of the cases we are called even by either police, but in our culture, information is not to be sold. Sometimes they know each other. They know each other, they know people from the cell, people they know have information. That's why RIB conduct information to know, to relate the victim or the dead body found in deep pit, so that you know this comes from this family. We know all information now, because we are small country, we have small cells, we have information.
So it's not from, for example, I watch in movies how they're able to get a DNA sample, and then because of that DNA sample, they can find, it belongs to this family.
This can happen when you have a national database, DNA database. Most of countries like United States, China, they have DNA for all population. If you have it, it's very simple.
So will Rwanda ever have such a...
No, not yet, because we are dealing with the criminal investigation, criminal information, and there is a project of law pending approval of Parliament many years ago. There is many consideration because of keeping DNA. It's not something that you can have as a granted like that. You have to look at all aspects, because when you have DNA materials from an individual, you have all information from him.
Yes. Yeah. So there are issues of maybe
you need
security.
To look at the security, how we preserve access, protect, this database, how we deny access for anyone else, how to protect our system. This is something important, and the government of Rwanda will continue to look at. But it's amazing to have DNA database. Because of the DNA database, every single detail is known. If there is any crime, is any fraud, you can immediately detect.
So it sounds like from you as Afande Karangwa, you think it's a good idea that we should have a national database.
Yeah, it's a good idea, but we have some issue we need to sort out before. Yeah.
Among the key performance indicators, KPIs, of an organization like yours, is its success in solving crimes, right? Because if you have an institution, but it's not having any results, then you say, oh, it's been a failed institution. But if you're able to solve crimes, then you say, okay, for every case that we're involved in, maybe we get 80% success rate, that's good. I would like to ask you to maybe share some of those cases that you've been involved with as an institution where you were able to solve an issue that if you did not exist would have been impossible to solve.
Thank you. Before, I would like to emphasize what you mentioned. To be honest, having forensic service in Rwanda, it's a milestone achieved by the government of Rwanda. I can even call it a revolution in the domain of justice. Forensic becomes like a backbone of justice administration. The day we start providing forensic evidence at the courtroom, things change a lot. Why? Many cases have been delaying before. Now, for DNA, for instance, you cannot exceed 7 days to provide the feedback, the result, the report that can be presented to the courtroom. This is one. Second, how we look at the satisfaction among our population. It's another success story for the government of Rwanda. They made in the last 7 years in our country. Now, you told me to mention some preeminent cases that have been handled successfully and bring attention to the population. Yes, we have many. I mentioned that we have like 50,000 cases we have successfully handled in the last 7 years. We have many cases among them, but very recent cases, which is very important, using digital forensics. Very recently, there is a case. I don't want to mention the name because of we keep privacy among client and institution. But I'm going to narrate the case and describe the case, how it was. We have a case of fraud. One guy was selling, have a virtual university, had a virtual university, online university. And they have delivered bachelor degree, master degree, even PhD degree online. The government of Rwanda really suspect, or other institutions suspect, that the degree was a forgery. But have been tried to court without any success. He won every time.
So the suspect was allegedly had a fake degree.
Yes.
But then there was not a way for the prosecution to prove that it was fake.
It was fake. But they suspect.
But they suspected.
And he made a lot of money.
How did he make money doing what?
Because you have to register, you have to follow courses, and you are awarded to get a degree.
So that I understand properly. So the suspect created his own university. And then he was giving degrees to people.
Yeah.
How is that possible?
It's possible because he was saying that it's an extension of an external university.
Okay.
He registered.
Yes.
But nothing was genuine.
Okay.
So very recently, when the guy won at all levels of appeal, and even he won at the last stage of appeal.
Yes. The Supreme Court?
Yes.
He won again?
Yes, of course. But the Supreme Court, when the Chief Justice visited our facilities. Yeah. In our explanation, in our awareness, in our introduction of the facilities, we mentioned digital forensic, and have been fascinated by our services. A few days after, he sent one of his staff to gather correct information. Yes, we will be able now to prove that all degrees he provided was a fake, forgery. There is a university does not exist because it don't have hosting domain. Second, the degree, the mention that comes from, the parent university was not exactly. It was a pure fake degree.
How many diplomas and degrees did he give out?
We don't have figures. Maybe you can ask that question to RIP or prosecution.
You don't know how many he gave out?
Many. Considering of money he had at the bank account.
You also you found out how much money he was making?
No, they mentioned. I don't have much information. What I can mention here is fake, man he was awarding people with the fake degree. This take longer. But when we came into, finally, the case has been handled successfully. Unfortunately, he fled out the country.
But it shows that the capacity is there.
Yeah.
Have you worked on some cases of, for example, rape that are well known, cases of homicide as well?
Sure. Yeah, of course, we have many type of cases. We have rape, we have defilement for teenagers, we have many cases. Even most of cases you are handling are criminal. So, yes, we do.
You say that most of the cases that you handle are criminal. Are there things that you do that are outside criminal prosecution?
Come again, please?
So you've said that most of the cases that you handle are of the criminal nature. Are there cases that you handle which are not of a criminal nature?
Yes, of course, you have a civil. Like people, they go to court for wrong or forgery document, like especially most of cases are turning around land. I can lend, most of the case they lend the land to people, and they took opportunity to have their handwriting and the signature. They can imitate them. Those are cases most of cases we are handling around the land. So this is we have many cases for civil cases like patent testing. This is a civil case.
Actually, I would like to talk to you about paternity testing.
Yeah.
You've just informed us that among the services that you give are DNA services. Before we talk about the paternity testing, I'd be more interested in understanding for the DNA, who exactly is using them and why?
Yes, for patent testing, we don't have much cases because of even the law.
But I was asking first about even the overall DNA test.
We don't have much cases of DNA. Recently, there is a case that have been in the media, the case of Uganda.
Which case is that?
Uganda said the DNA in Uganda, they are now destroying families. And we have been receiving many people, journalists and even MPs, to asking questions. The same situation is happening in Rwanda. But using statistics, we show that there is no correlation with divorce and the case of patent testing. We have a few cases per year, like less than 100 per year.
Only?
Meaning, we don't have much cases. And this is people volunteer, they come for DNA testing. So we don't have much cases, but we have much cases of what you can call exhibit found on a crime scene, exhumation, people that have been engaged in many cases of crime, so we are receiving them. Rape, it's a criminal. Rape, defilement, I remember, especially during the period of COVID-19, the ministry in charge of family promotion, they recorded high rate of defilement. I don't remember exactly the figures, but it was around 20,000 cases.
During that time?
Yeah. So this is very sensitive, especially the government is taking it seriously. Yeah.
And all of those 20,000 samples, you dealt with them?
Of course. But those are criminal cases.
Yeah. So, it's because I was going to ask you about the paternity fraud and everything, but it seems, because if what you say is true, that only you deal with about 100
cases.
Is it because people don't know that you have those services?
Yes, we have, but maybe it's in our culture also. But the law, family law, the biological child is the child that has been born in the family and educated in the family. This is the definition of biological law by law. So, but also I think it's related to our culture. Umwana n'uwa famille, n'umuryango. So I think this is something we can, but I don't think we have such cases. And people, they come for pattern testing, it becomes a level of discordance in the family, which is too much. So they are no longer accepting to live each other. Otherwise, I don't know, this is what I can suppose, but I think we don't have much cases. I don't know why, but I can imagine that it's linked to those stories I mentioned.
I guess the idea is that no one will go for a paternity test if they don't trust.
Sure.
If you only go there if you have already issues in the family.
Yeah, of course. You cannot. Maybe you have many issues in the family. We decide to go to the last solution. And we have a team of a counselor before we have to educate them, to explain the extent, the feedback, the outcome of the result. It will be worse.
Yes.
You can, for instance, you can have 5 children, and only one which is not comes from union from
both parents.
But can have extent of will be. I mean, the feedback will affect even
the
remaining children, and not only they are affecting all the family members. This is a catastrophic. If you decided to have it, make sure that you know what will be.
Also, what you're saying is that you don't only collect the samples, you also give them some kind of psychological help.
Sure. And some of them decide not to continue
with that sampling. Just for my own curiosity, how much does the private DNA testing cost?
It's a cost 89,010 Rwandan francs. Yeah.
And how quickly would you be able, if I went there today?
Yeah, we have, put in place or procedure, option. We have 2 options. If you want the result in normal way, It cannot exceed 7 days. But if you want to go it quickly, we have the express option. Because express, there is a cost. They are consuming a lot of reagent. So we can decide to analyze one sample. In a priority, you have to pay. It's 140. So
but that's still not too expensive.
It's not expensive because the government of Rwanda put subsidies so that we can cover the cost from the population. But the people from outside is costly because there is no government subsidized. So we apply the real cost.
What is the real cost?
It's 350.
But that's still less than sending samples to Germany, so...
It was very costly again. Yeah. But now, this is a homegrown solution the government of Rwanda thought on, and enable African peers they make profit of these facilities in Rwanda.
Yeah. So now you've been in existence for 7 years.
Yeah.
I'd like you to look 7 years into the future and paint us a picture of what the Institute looks like, especially when you look at what is happening in the world in terms of technology, artificial intelligence, robotics, and even how crime is going to change and how people commit crimes. How will the Institute look like in the next 7 years with all these factors in play?
Yeah. Thank you for the question. Actually, it's a very good question. But before responding to a question, I'd like to go back and justify the move that Rwanda did to change from Rwanda Forensic Laboratory to Rwanda Forensic Institute. As I mentioned, Rwanda Forensic Institute, it's the latest, institute is the latest level of development of or evolution of forensic services. Now we are on the latest level of evolution. So there is many changes now. First of all, we undergo accreditation. So meaning that we have to get international recognition as an institute. Second, having international recognition meaning a lot of things. One, it's to increase the volume of work and to upgrade our technology. Third, now we have another mandate, added mandate, training, research and development so that we can even participate in a homegrown solution. Like for instance, we plan to have our sample collection kit because we are conducting research. This is something important. You cannot make it if you don't have this mandate to conduct research and development. So this strategic move that the government of Rwanda made to shift from RFL to RFI, Rwanda Forensic Laboratory to Rwanda Forensic Institute, it's a very strategic and a very important move. Why? Government of Rwanda have received, through Minister of Justice, officially 12 requests from African countries so that they can make a profit of these services we have in Rwanda by training our law enforcement agent staff, but also to provide the service to them. It's important. Actually, there is something we should understand. Having a Rwanda Forensic Institution and an organization like RFI, having the 13 laboratories under the same ceiling.
So there are 13 laboratories
yes,
at RFI?
13 laboratories we have. This is something unique in Africa.
If I may ask you a question, how many similar institutes can be found on the African continent?
Yes, African countries, even European countries, they have forensic services. But most of the cases, they are scattered. We can have DNA under Ministry of Health. We can have fingerprint or other physical lab, like physical evidence for pattern analysis in police, under police. Other can be found in the army. Other can be found in the Ministry of Justice, and they don't speak each other. They no interlink. Yeah. And to investigate a case, in most of the cases, we need more than 5 laboratories to intervene. Let me give an example. Case of a murder. Yes, we need to make sure that you find out the way the person have been killed, the way he died, and the cause of death. This is, you have to use forensic medicine. But in most of cases, when you there is a crime committed, we need to look at electronic devices, especially the telephone. If you don't have this capacity, digital forensic, how can you make it? You have to look at on a suspect. If you have any information and you have capacity to collect all information on the telephone, in the case we have a suspect. Second, we need to look at DNA. We need to look at fingerprint. We need to look at toxicology, post-mortem toxicology. Yes, what we find on victim into blood, urine, or gastric content. Is it really what you find on a crime scene? Is it chemicals? Is it, yes, there is a stroke. What the cause of stroke? Maybe chemicals. We have to look at into chemicals, post-mortem toxicology. But also what we find on the crime scene, sometimes we have powder, product, and they simulate to use those product. Why it's not? We have to confirm. Is it the same product you find on victim or not? So already we have used 7 lab to intervene for this, to provide the forensic evidence in the case of murder. This is scientific, unique for Africa, and that's why you need to use it efficiently. It's a golden mine for Rwanda.
So you still haven't answered my question about what you see in the future. Yeah,
now the question. That is, as I mentioned, I would like to have a background. Now, in the future, we have a magazine we have published recently. We have all the information, what we did in the last 5 years and what we are planning to have in future. But I want to have a summary of what we plan to do. First of all, we need to respond to the query from African peers. I mentioned 12 countries that have formulated their request. We have to have a training center of excellence. We have to internationalize our services. And we make sure we use less investment, but we make a big profit. We have to decentralize our service so that we reduce expenses from government institutions. Each province will have one site. Like Musanze will have their branch, Rubavu will have a branch, Rusizi will have another branch, Huye will have a branch, Eastern Province will have in Rwamagana, and 2 at the airport. Already you are present at Kigali International Airport. We have our laboratory. So, and those should be done within 2 years for the centralization of our services. But for internationalization, it can be step by step, because we need to create a clear framework using Rwanda Cooperation Initiative and the MINAFED. And of course, Minister of Justice and under strict coordination of Minister of Justice and the MINACOFIN and the MINAFED.
You had told me off camera about some of the cooperations that you are having with different African countries. If it's not a secret, can you share with us some of those African countries that want to work with you?
Yes, we have among African countries that formulate their request. We have Mozambique. We have Niger or Niger. we have Mali, we have Central Africa, we have Chad, we have Congo Brazzaville, we have Sao Tome Principe, we have Guinea Conakry, we have I don't remember again 2 countries, but we have many countries. Even more continue to send message so that we can work together.
And in what? Because of course forensics are there, as you've explained, there are many parts of forensics. Which area do they particularly want to work with Rwanda?
Cameroon. For instance, for Cameroon, they are focusing on postmortem toxicology and DNA. Those are 2 areas they want to collaborate with us. For Mozambique, most of the cases we are handling here, they are interested because of minister in charge of justice and religious affairs was here and she passed days here. We discussed in details. We want to have more. And we have Central Africa, Nigeria, they are focusing on DNA and the question document. So we have many areas, but it depends on the country, on the case. We have Somalia and South Sudan. Somalia and South Sudan, they are focusing on ballistic. So that because there is many crime committed using firearm, rifle.
Do you have an institutional mihigo of how much foreign partnerships or even the amount of money that these foreign partnerships will bring?
No, yet we are now under design the project. We have to make a projection. Our team of experts are working on a projection, even a business plan, but it will be depending on the country. But when you look at Cameroon, because you are advancing discussion for postmortem toxicology, they have provided the case they are sending in France, used to send in France. It's 100 million of euros per year. Wow. So if you manage appropriately this market, it's a huge money we can collect for the country, and they reduce the dependence on the government budget, and they also contribute to national treasure. Yeah.
How much? So obviously during around this time, I would like to be invited to come to come with maybe a small camera team to see the laboratory. But the way you make it sound like it was a big investment by the government of Rwanda. Can you share with us what that investment cost?
Till now, in the last 7 years, the government of Rwanda invests more than 30 billion in investment.
30 billion?
30 billion investment. Yeah.
And it's going to continue investing?
Yes, of course. Because we have in our mid-term finance model, we have 18 billion. Again, we have to invest in this project, in the whole project we have. We have many projects, actually. Yeah.
Now, the last question for you. There are a lot of young people who watch this podcast, and they seem to like the conversations that I have with leaders, and they're very, very interesting people in Rwanda. So this question that I want to ask you is for them. So for a young person who listens to this conversation and thinks, wow, Afande Karangwa's his profession seems interesting. I want to be a part of this. But I'm in high school, or maybe I'm about to enter university and I have choices of courses and degrees that I can do. But I really want to be a part of forensics. It seems interesting for me. what advice would you give them in terms of the university courses they should undertake? And what exact skill set? So pretty much the question that I'm asking is, what exact skill set is the Rwanda Forensics Institute looking for in terms of the skills that it's looking for from the Rwandan public?
That is a very good question, actually. Normally, we have many branches, as I mentioned. We have like 5 departments. I'm going to mention the field of studies according to expertise. Let's say for physics evidence or pattern analysis, where we have all case of digital forensic, ballistics, we have a question document. Most of young people working in this area, they have their background in mathematics, physics, computer science, and of course, yes, for this area. And forensic, it's very critical. That's why now we're focusing on the top 10 from university, meaning that you have to be among the best of the best. Otherwise, we don't have forensic science here in Rwanda. In many countries, forensic experts are trained in a specialized university or program. That's why government have to speak each other using bilateral cooperation. Cannot have in public university like that. It's costly, and they need high-skilled personnel. If you have a satisfaction or 50%, you cannot afford. That's why we are targeting young people, the brilliant guy in mathematics, physics, and computer science. For Department of Biology, where we have DNA testing, human and non-human DNA, and the forensic microbiology, we are dealing with the biotechnology guys and the biochemistry. For Department of Chemistry, where we have postmortem toxicology, but also drug and chemistry. We are looking for a pharmacy, medical doctor, chemistry, and also public health sometimes. For the case of forensic medicine, most of them are medical doctor, biologist, because we are dealing with odontology. The case of we are analyzing bone and teeth, we need to look at biologists and medical doctors, but also public health and the radiography, especially we are using medical imaging for CT scan, ultrasound, radiography, and so on. For the remaining, like Department of Forensic Engineering, now we are planning to build. We have engineers, electric engineers, architecture, and so on and so on. So all fields of pure science are normally involved. But now we have an area where we will train forensic management. We have forensic accounting. Of course, we deal with people in the managerial sciences like economy, accounting, law, and so on. Meaning that we are covering most of areas of pure science and applied science, and of course, social sciences.
So, if I may, it seems like those are very highly skilled, very specialized positions. Are Rwandans the ones who are working in your institute, or do you find that there's a lot of foreigners?
No. Most of experts here are Rwandan because of government of Rwanda. This is something that the government of Rwanda established with a strategy. They thought, on how this will be strategic to government. Because of some people, when they visit our laboratory, external people, they are scared to look at how government of Rwanda thought on this strategic investment. This is the question they are asking. Like you ask, they ask, do you think all people are from Rwanda, or they have some people like American guy, they are behind the curtain? We say, no, those are our experts here. And they are also scared with the heavy investment the government of Rwanda put. Very heavy. A machine can be cost like 1 billion. It's a machine. Yes, in chemistry, for instance, or in ballistics. We have heavy investment there. I mentioned that around more than 30 billion in last 5-7 years. It's a huge amount. So if there is if the government don't support this one, cannot make it. It's a strategic investment that government of Rwanda did. And to be honest, we should have a return now in our bright future.
Afande Karangwa, thank you so much for joining me.
My pleasure, Mr. Sanny.
Before we go, is there a message that you want to give to our listeners or our viewers?
First of all, I have 2 things to let to listener or viewers. I'd like to take an opportunity to thank the government of Rwanda to think on this strategic investment because it is a reference for Africa. And we need to work so that it becomes a regional hub in forensic science. Second, for young people, university and scholars, we need to think on to take over. That's why I have an opportunity to mention the area of expertise. Don't be scared. Forensic science is for you. Choose the best field of expertise you are going to develop so that you can join. In a few years, we need more experts. In our plan for 10 years, we want to shift from 100 to 600. So we need to go to university to raise awareness so that we continue to bring young people to alert them so that they can make a good choice, so that they can join at one day Forensic Institute. It's amazing to have. Forensic expert, it's a rare skills. Even if it's not a commitment, they have our staff. Every time they are looking for them so that we can work outside. But they are committed to develop their country. Our country will be developed ourselves. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Afande.
My pleasure.
If you enjoyed the conversation today, share your thoughts with us on our social media platforms. You can find us on Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok.